I had been away for a week. A rancher's life is never easy, and sometimes you've got to take supply trips, visit livestock markets, and check on contracts. But when I finally returned home, all I wanted was peace. Just me, my barn, and the smell of hay and diesel. But instead of peace, I saw a glimmer. A bright reflection of sunlight on chrome and polished paint. Right there, blocking my barn door completely, sat a brand new Bentley. Sleek, shining, arrogant, as if it owned the land it rested on. For a moment, I thought maybe I was imagining it. Who in their right mind would park a luxury car in front of a working barn? But as I walked closer, the reality set in. The barn door, my daily access to equipment, feed, and my livelihood, was completely blocked off. And leaning against the car, sipping from a tall cup and laughing into her phone, was the one person who could make this worse. Karen, the HOA queen herself. Her sunglasses glinted, and she gave me a small, mocking wave as if she'd been waiting for me. Cliffhanger, she smirked, mouthing words I could read from across the distance. This is intentional. I stormed closer, trying to keep my composure. Move the car, I said flatly. Karen lowered her glasses and smiled sweetly, the kind of smile that drips poison. Instead of grabbing her keys, she pulled out a folded notice. You see, she said, according to HOA setback rules, your barn doesn't comply with visibility codes. Consider this a notice. I stared at the paper. Not only was it irrelevant, my ranch wasn't under her HOA's jurisdiction at all, but the audacity of using it to justify blocking my door. It was insanity. I told her exactly that. This isn't your property. This isn't your HOA. You have no authority here. She tilted her head, almost pitying me. Oh, sweetie, she said, you'll learn. Around here, we set the rules. If you want access to your little barn, maybe it's time you start playing nice. Cliffhanger. Karen's words weren't for me alone. One of her followers had their phone out, recording the entire exchange. That night, I wasn't just angry, I was determined. I went to my safe and pulled out the old leather-bound deed. My grandfather had signed it in ink that still smelled faintly of the past. County seals, signatures, recorded lines of boundary and ownership. Every inch of this land was mine. By morning, I walked out and found Karen waiting again. Only this time she wasn't laughing. She held a shiny HOA binder filled with rules and fines. We stood toe-to-toe, her glossy packet versus my time-worn deed. The standoff wasn't just personal anymore. It was symbolic. She wanted control. I wanted freedom. And then, just as I held the papers up for her to see, a neighbor across the street raised their phone. Click. A photo. Within hours, that photo hit the neighborhood Facebook page. The caption read, HOA versus rancher. Who really owns the barn? Cliffhanger. The post started gaining comments fast, and not all of them were siding with me. By noon, the post had dozens of comments. Some mocked me, calling me the stubborn rancher who won't modernize. Others tore into Karen, calling her the queen without a crown. The fight had left the driveway and entered the digital battlefield. And the worst part? Neither side had the full truth yet. I typed up my own response, calm, precise, with photos of the deed and county lines. But before I could even hit post, a private message popped up. It was from someone I didn't know. The message was short, almost cryptic. I've dealt with her too. I have proof. Want it? Cliffhanger. The sender attached a video file, labeled Karen, caught on tape. I opened the video. It showed Karen berating another homeowner, screaming about violations, then threatening to tow their car for parking in their own driveway. Her tone was venomous, her face twisted with rage. The neighbor's message followed. She's done this to us for years, but you're the first one standing up to her. Don't stop. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just my fight. Karen had been terrorizing others too. And maybe, just maybe, they were ready to push back. But before I could share the video, a black SUV idled in front of my gate. Two men inside, stiff posture, dark sunglasses, just sat there watching. Cliffhanger. One of them rolled down the window and muttered, "We were paid to keep it there." They weren't cops. They weren't county deputies. Just private muscle, intimidation hired by Karen. They didn't step out. They didn't move the car. They just sat there, making sure I saw them. The message was clear. Karen wanted me scared. I wasn't. Instead, I grabbed my phone and recorded the entire scene, narrating time, date, and description. And then, as I circled closer, I caught one of them on audio. His slip-up was small but damning. We were paid to keep the Bentley there. Cliffhanger. Paid? By whom? Karen didn't just want to annoy me. She wanted to establish dominance, and she was willing to hire men to do it. The next morning, Karen stormed up my driveway in heels clicking against the gravel. She thrust a paper at me. "This is a towing receipt," she snapped. "By tomorrow, your barn will be sealed. You'll owe thousands in fines." I glanced at the paper. It wasn't official, just a mock-up designed to scare me. "You don't have authority here," I said again. "This land is mine." But then she smiled. "I called the sheriff," she said smugly. "Let's see how long you last when they get involved." As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Caller ID, Sheriff's Department. Cliffhanger. Was she bluffing, or had she really pulled the law into this mess? That night, the weight of it all pressed on me. HOA threats, fake security, now possibly the sheriff. I set up trail cameras around the barn, mounted one on the fence post, even left my tractor parked close to the Bentley, engine ready. The barn wasn't just a building, it was my livelihood. If they thought I'd give it up easily, they didn't know who they were dealing with. At 2 a.m., headlights flashed across my yard. Too slow for a passerby, too quiet for a friend, and then through the grainy camera feed I saw a figure crouch near the Bentley, slipping something under the rear tire. Cliffhanger. Was it sabotage? Or something far worse? The next morning I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. A white SUV with county markings rolled to a stop. Sheriff's Department. My pulse spiked. Karen hadn't been bluffing. From the driver's seat stepped out a deputy, young, stiff, with the kind of look that said, "I'm here to prove myself." He walked up slow, glancing between me, the barn, and the Bentley. Karen trailed behind him like a proud lawyer parading her star witness. "Sir," the deputy began, "we've received a complaint that this structure may be in violation of HOA and county codes." I almost laughed. HOA doesn't govern farmland. And that structure, I pointed to my barn, weathered but sturdy, is grandfathered by county deed. This, I pulled the folded deed from my jacket, is older than your entire HOA. Karen jumped in, her voice shrill. "That barn is an eyesore. He shouldn't even have it. And he's threatening me. He's dangerous." The deputy hesitated, caught between her theatrics and my calm proof. His hand hovered near his belt, unsure whether he was here to mediate or escalate. Cliffhanger. From the corner of my eye, I saw another patrol car pull up, but this time I recognized the driver. And suddenly, Karen's smugness cracked, outstepped the county sheriff. And not just any sheriff. My wife. Her boots hit the gravel like thunder. Her badge glinted under the morning sun. And the look she shot Karen could have leveled a mountain. "Karen," my wife said coldly, "step away from the vehicle." Karen froze, her confidence draining. The deputy glanced back, confused as my wife strode over. She knew the land records. She knew the laws. And more importantly, she knew me. "This property," my wife continued, "is legally outside HOA jurisdiction. You've trespassed. You've blocked a working barn door. And now you've wasted department resources on a false complaint." Karen stammered. I didn't know, but my wife cut her off. "Ignorance isn't an excuse. Move. The car." Cliffhanger. Karen's hands shook as she fumbled for her keys, but instead of unlocking the Bentley, she did something reckless. Karen dropped her phone onto the hood, turned it toward us, and hit record. "You hear this, Internet?" she shouted. "The sheriff is corrupt. She's siding with her husband, the cowboy thug. This is favoritism. This is harassment." Her voice cracked into hysteria. The deputy looked uncomfortable, the camera catching every second of her meltdown. I stood silent, letting her dig her own grave. My wife crossed her arms, steel in her eyes, then Karen took it further. She leaned against the Bentley and screamed, "If this car is touched, if anything happens to it, I'll sue this entire county. You'll all pay." The deputy stepped forward, trying to calm her, but Karen shoved him back. On camera. Cliffhanger. That push changed everything. What had been an HOA tantrum just became assault on an officer. The deputy steadied himself, eyes wide. Karen's hand still hovered midair, realization dawning on her face. She'd gone too far, but instead of backing down, she doubled down. She spun toward me, jabbing a finger in my chest. "You think you've won? You think this is over? I'll have this barn bulldozed. I'll have your land seized. People like you don't belong in my neighborhood." I leaned close, my voice low but firm. "Karen, this isn't your neighborhood. This is my land. And if you keep trespassing..." I nodded toward my tractor parked nearby, its engine still warm. "You'll find out how stubborn a rancher can really be." She sneered, but I caught a flicker of fear. Cliffhanger. Just then, from behind the barn, one of my trail cameras pinged an alert. Motion detected. Someone else was here. I pulled my phone, opening the live feed from the trail cam. And there, grainy but clear, was a figure crouching near the back wall of the barn. Not Karen, not the deputy. Someone else entirely. They were slipping something metallic under the siding. Tools. Sabotage. I shouted for the deputy, who rushed toward the barn. Karen shrieked, "Don't touch him! He's with me!" Her words betraying her alliance before she realized it. The intruder bolted, sprinting across the field. The deputy gave chase, but the man vanished into the tree line. I saved the footage immediately. Proof. Evidence. Cliffhanger. Karen's plan wasn't just blocking my barn with her Bentley. She had brought in someone to damage it from the inside. By now, the neighbors had gathered. Phones out, cameras rolling. A full-blown audience, they whispered, recording every meltdown, every insult Karen hurled. My wife stood guard, the deputy torn between embarrassment and duty. I climbed up onto my tractor, resting one hand on the wheel. The crowd hushed. Karen froze, realizing what was about to happen. "This barn," I said loudly, "has stood for generations. No HOA, no luxury car, no intimidation is going to change that. You parked in front of my livelihood." I revved the engine. The roar shook the ground, dust swirling in the air. "And now you're going to see what happens when you push a rancher too far." Cliffhanger! Karen screamed, sprinting to shield her Bentley with her body. The crowd gasped. My tractor idled just feet from the Bentley's polished hood. Karen pressed herself against the car, arms spread like she was defending a fortress. "Do it and you'll be arrested!" she shrieked. "This is destruction of private property." I leaned down from the cab, locking eyes with her. "You call it private property. I call it trespassing junk blocking my barn," the deputy shouted. "Sir, don't!" But even he couldn't hide the smirk tugging at his lips. He knew what Karen deserved. I inched the tractor forward, its metal bucket lowering. Gravel crunched. The crowd's phones were up, recording history. Cliffhanger. And then the Bentley's alarm blared. Not from me. From inside the car. Someone had triggered it. The Bentley's lights flashed wildly. The alarm echoed across the ranch. And as Karen spun toward it in panic, the driver's side door popped open. Out stepped her son. A smug teenager, phone in hand, live-streaming the entire standoff. "Yo, Mom's losing it," he laughed, panning his camera. "Check this out. She's about to get her car wrecked." Karen's face turned pale. Her own blood had betrayed her, broadcasting her meltdown to the entire internet. The crowd erupted in laughter. Even the deputy shook his head. Karen, shaking with rage, turned on her son, screaming, "Turn that off! Delete it!" But it was too late. The live stream had already gone viral. Cliffhanger. And I, sitting tall in my tractor, knew the moment had come. Either she moved that Bentley, or I would. The teenager's live stream comments scrolled so fast they blurred, "LOL HOA Karen meltdown." "She blocked a barn with a Bentley?" "Bro, crush it." Karen lunged for her son's phone, but he darted away, laughing. "Chill, Mom. It's just content." The crowd erupted into laughter, phones capturing every second. Even neighbors who once quietly supported Karen shook their heads, muttering, "She's gone too far this time." Karen's face twisted red with rage. "Stop recording." "You have no right!" she screeched at everyone. But the more she screamed, the more people recorded. Cliffhanger. And then, as if on cue, news reporters pulled into the driveway, cameras rolling, two news vans screeched to a halt. Reporters jumping out like sharks smelling blood. Microphones in hand, cameras live, they rushed forward. "Ma'am, is it true you parked your Bentley to block your neighbor's barn?" "Sir, are you really about to crush her luxury car with that tractor?" Karen's shriek pierced the chaos. "This is harassment." "I'm the victim." She shoved a mic away, tripping over her own heels as the camera zoomed in. Meanwhile, I sat tall in my tractor, unmoving, letting the chaos swirl. My wife stood arms crossed, the deputy sweating bullets between law and spectacle. The crowd chanted, "Move the car! Move the car!" "Cliffhanger!" Karen finally snapped. She slid into the Bentley, locked the doors, and revved the engine, aiming it straight at me. The roar of the Bentley's engine cut through the air. Karen gripped the wheel, her eyes wild, headlights blazing directly at my tractor. The crowd screamed, scattering back. The deputy yelled, "Don't do it, ma'am!" But Karen didn't hear. Or maybe she didn't care. For a split second, it was a standoff. Shiny luxury against iron beast. A war of pride. I tightened my grip on the tractor's controls. My machine was built for plowing through boulders, steel gates, and storms. A Bentley? It was nothing more than tin in its path. Karen slammed the gas. The car lurched forward. Cliffhanger. But suddenly, the Bentley's front wheel exploded with a sharp bang. The Bentley skidded sideways, tires screeching as rubber shredded across the gravel. Karen screamed, wrestling the wheel, the car lurching violently before it jolted to a halt just inches from my tractor. Everyone gasped. Dust hung in the air like smoke after a cannon blast. Silence. Then the crowd erupted in laughter, cheers, and shouts. "Flat tire, Karma!" Phones zoomed in on the shredded wheel, broadcasting her humiliation live to thousands. Karen, pale and shaking, slammed the steering wheel with both fists. "No, this can't be happening!" Her son, still streaming, muttered, "Mom, you just totaled your own car on camera." Cliffhanger. The news reporter grinned, whispering into her mic, "And ladies and gentlemen, it appears HOA Karen's downfall just went national." Karen burst out of the Bentley, mascara streaking, hair tangled, screaming at everyone. "You think this is funny? This is my community. I built this hole. You'll all pay!" The neighbors booed. The deputy tried to calm her, but she shoved him again, a second assault. The sheriff, my wife, stepped forward, voice like steel. "Karen, you've obstructed private property. You've endangered lives. You've resisted authority. You've assaulted an officer." Twice, the crowd fell silent. Karen blinked, realization dawning. Her empire of fear was crumbling in front of an audience of cameras and live streams. Cliffhanger. My wife reached for her cuffs. Click. The metallic snap of handcuffs echoed louder than Karen's shrieks. "No! You can't do this! I am the HOA. I control this place!" But the cameras didn't lie. The deputy read her rights while reporters swarmed, neighbors cheered, and her son muttered, "Wow." "Jail vlog incoming!" Karen thrashed, screaming, but my wife's grip was iron. She was dragged toward the patrol car, her shrill voice breaking. "This isn't over! You'll regret this!" The crowd booed louder, chanting, "Goodbye, Karen!" Cliffhanger. Just as she was shoved into the back seat, a black luxury SUV screeched up the road. Out stepped 3 HOA board members, and they looked furious. The board stormed over, dressed in sharp suits, their voices sharp and rehearsed. "This is unlawful." One barked. "You can't arrest our president!" Another shouted. "This rancher is destroying our neighborhood." The third accused. But their words drowned under the noise of the crowd and the flashing cameras. I raised my deed high above my head. "This land is mine. Always has been. Your HOA has no power here. Not 1 inch," the sheriff backed me up. "And you're about to lose what little power you had. Because HOA fraud is now officially under investigation." The board paled. Reporters shoved microphones in their faces. "Fraud? Care to comment?" Cliffhanger. The board tried to retreat to their SUV, but the deputy blocked their path. With Karen cuffed in the back of the patrol car and the board cornered, all eyes turned back to me. Still perched in my tractor, engine rumbling, The Bentley sat crippled in front of my barn. Blocking my door, its wheel shredded. I eased the tractor forward. Steel bucket lowering. The crowd went wild, chanting, "Do it! Do it!" Karen screamed from inside the cruiser, "Don't you dare!" I gave the bucket one final rev, dust rising, gravel scattering, and with a thunderous roar, the tractor's steel arms pressed down on the Bentley's hood. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. Luxury crumpled like paper. The barn door was free. The crowd exploded in cheers. Reporters captured the moment in slow motion, and Karen's face pressed against the patrol car window, howling like her world had ended. Cliffhanger. I shut off the tractor, the silence heavier than the crash. And I knew this was just the beginning of Karen's reckoning. Karen sat in the back of the patrol car, banging on the window with cuffed fists. Her shrieks echoed as the cruiser pulled away, dust trailing behind. The crowd roared, chanting, "Justice! Justice!" Neighbors slapped my back. Reporters shoved microphones toward me. "How does it feel to finally take down HOA Karen?" one asked. I simply pointed at the ruined Bentley under my tractor's bucket and said, "Actions have consequences." But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. HOA power ran deep, and Karen wasn't the type to give up. Cliffhanger. That night, as I sat on my porch, I spotted headlights creeping up my driveway. Black SUVs. Not cops, not neighbors. The HOA board had returned. 3 men stepped out, their suits pressed even at midnight. Their leader, tall with a cold smile, spoke first. "You embarrassed us today. You embarrassed her." I stood, shotgun cradled casually at my side. "You're trespassing," he smirked. "You think this is over? Karen may be in jail, but the HOA is bigger than her. We have lawyers, connections, money. If you don't sell us this land, we'll bury you in lawsuits until you're broke." I took a step closer, my voice steady. "Gentlemen, this land has been in my family for 3 generations. You don't scare me. And if you keep coming back," I cocked the shotgun with a click that echoed through the night, "you'll regret it." They stiffened but didn't retreat. Their leader whispered, "Enjoy your little victory. It won't last." Cliffhanger. The next morning, I found a notice nailed to my fence. The notice was official-looking, stamped with HOA seals and legal jargon. "Notice of eminent domain," it read, claiming my land was being seized for community development. I laughed bitterly. Eminent domain? By an HOA? They had no jurisdiction. But I knew their plan. Drag me through endless court battles, drain my money, and force me to sell. I called my lawyer, who chuckled. "They don't have a leg to stand on, but get ready, they'll play dirty." Dirty came faster than I expected. By noon, county inspectors showed up, claiming my barn was unsafe. By evening, drones buzzed overhead, recording footage of my ranch. Cliffhanger. And that night, I caught 2 men sneaking near my cattle pens, trying to cut the fencing. I grabbed my flashlight and rifle, storming out into the fields. The men froze like deer caught in headlights, wire cutters glinting in their hands. "Drop it," I ordered. They bolted. I chased, boots pounding, dogs barking in the distance. One tripped over a fence post and scrambled up, his face exposed under the beam. He was no random thug. He was the HOA treasurer, caught red-handed. But before I could grab him, a truck screeched nearby. The other intruder yanked him into the passenger seat, and they sped off into the night. I checked my cameras. Footage saved. Evidence secured. Cliffhanger. I thought I had them cornered, until the very next day, the HOA fired back harder. By sunrise, news headlines flashed. Local rancher threatens HOA volunteers with gun. HOA president jailed, but new allegations against farmer surface. Karen's board had twisted the sabotage incident, painting me as a violent aggressor. Reporters swarmed again, shoving mics, demanding answers. Karen's son, still live-streaming everything, whispered, "They're trying to cancel you, dude." The crowd of neighbors split. Some stood by me, others confused by the HOA's slick PR machine. But I wasn't rattled. I knew the truth, and I knew how to fight back. Cliffhanger. That evening, I walked into the county courthouse carrying a flash drive full of footage. The courtroom buzzed with cameras. On one side, the HOA board with their polished lawyers. On the other, me in my work boots, hat, and a stack of evidence. The judge, stern and sharp-eyed, called the case. The HOA's attorney launched into a speech about dangerous farmers, community standards, and luxury neighborhoods under threat. When it was my turn, I plugged in the flash drive. Screens lit up across the courtroom, showing Karen blocking my barn with her Bentley, shoving officers, her son live-streaming her meltdown, and the treasurer cutting my fences. Gasps filled the room. The HOA lawyers sputtered, the judge's eyebrow arched. Cliffhanger. And then, right in the middle of the footage, Karen herself appeared on screen, calling the sabotage Plan B. The courtroom erupted. Reporters scrambled. Neighbors shouted. The judge slammed his gavel for silence. Karen's own words sealed their fate. Their fraud, sabotage, and abuse of power were undeniable. The judge leaned forward, voice like thunder. This court recognizes a pattern of harassment, trespassing, and fraud. Effective immediately, this HOA is under investigation and suspended from operations. The board turned white as sheets. Their empire was collapsing in real time. Cliffhanger. But just when I thought it was over, the courthouse doors burst open. Karen herself stormed in an orange jumpsuit, wrists chained, screaming like a banshee. Karen had somehow convinced the guards to let her speak, and she seized her moment. "You think you've won!" she shrieked, eyes wild. "This isn't over! That land should be mine! This whole town should be mine!" The judge ordered her. Restrained, but Karen twisted against the deputies, screaming at the cameras, "He's a tyrant, a monster! He destroyed my car!" I stood slowly, meeting her gaze with calm steel. "No, Karen. You destroyed yourself." The room went silent, her screams echoing down the halls as she was dragged away. And for the first time, it felt like peace was possible. Cliffhanger. But outside the courthouse, as I stepped into the sunlight, a reporter shoved a mic toward me and asked, "What will you do now that you own the land where 98 HOA homes stand?" As the reporter's question echoed, "What will you do now that you own the land where 98 HOA homes stand?" The crowd fell silent. I looked out across the subdivision. Shiny houses, manicured lawns, smug fences, all built on land legally tied to my deed. The HOA board gasped. They hadn't expected the truth to spill here. I raised my voice for the cameras. "This isn't just a ranch. This isn't just a barn. Every single brick, every roof, every blade of grass you've been lording over belongs to me." The crowd erupted, half cheering, half stunned. Reporters shouted questions. Neighbors whispered, realizing their mortgages were built on ground they didn't truly own. Cliffhanger. And then, a lawyer from the county clerk's office stepped forward holding the original land grant. The lawyer read aloud, voice steady. "By record of 1894, this ranch and its adjoining parcels, now occupied by the HOA subdivision, are the legal property of the Miller family." Gasps. Reporters scrambled. The HOA board's faces drained of blood. Karen's son, still live on stream, whispered into his mic, "Bruh. Mom built houses on land that wasn't even hers." The judge slammed the gavel. "This entire neighborhood was built on stolen property. Effective immediately, ownership reverts to the rightful deed holder." Every camera in the room zoomed in on me. Cliffhanger. The HOA wasn't just finished. Every homeowner was about to realize I was now their landlord. The news spread like wildfire. By evening, residents of the 98 HOA homes swarmed outside my ranch, desperate and panicked. "You can't just take our homes," one cried. "We paid mortgages. We invested everything," another shouted. I raised my hand, silencing the chaos. "I don't want your homes. But I want you to understand. The HOA lied to you. They built your lives on stolen ground." Karen did this, not me. Some neighbors turned against Karen's legacy, furious at her fraud. Others begged me for mercy. Cliffhanger. And that's when developers showed up, offering me blank checks to buy the entire subdivision outright. A slick developer in a tailored suit stepped forward, flashing papers. Mr. Miller will pay double the value of this land. Sign it over and we'll handle the mess. You walk away rich, the crowd murmured. Even my lawyer raised an eyebrow. It was a fortune, generational wealth. But I stared at the houses, at the land that had been stripped and paved over by greed. Money wasn't the point. This land isn't for sale, I said firmly. It wasn't for sale when Karen tried to take it. It's not for sale now. The developer's smile faded. Then you'll regret this. Cliffhanger. That night, bulldozers appeared at the edge of my land, sent without permits, ready to tear the homes down by force. I woke to the rumble of engines. Bulldozers lined up, workers in hard hats waiting for orders. The developer stood smugly, paperwork in hand, but he hadn't expected one thing. My tractors were already lined up, headlights blazing in the morning mist. My neighbors, the real ones, ranchers, farmers, townsfolk, stood shoulder to shoulder beside me. "This isn't a construction site," I growled. "This is my land." The sheriff, my wife, arrived, sirens wailing. She stepped out, badge flashing, and barked, "Shut those engines down or you're all under arrest." The workers froze. The developer turned pale. Cliffhanger. And then, to everyone's shock, Karen's son stepped forward with evidence against the HOA board. The teenager held up a hard drive. They thought I was just live streaming for clout. But I saved everything. Emails, calls. The HOA board planned fraud, bribery, even sabotage. He plugged it into a reporter's laptop. Screens lit up with proof. Karen and the board conspiring to fake permits, steal land, and silence opponents. The crowd roared. The board members were cornered, their last defenses crumbling. Even neighbors who hated me began clapping. The truth was undeniable now. Cliffhanger, the developer, realizing his deal was dead, stormed off. But not before hissing, "This isn't the end," with cameras rolling. The crowd turned back to the Bentley wreck still rotting in front of my barn. It was the symbol of Karen's arrogance, untouched since the courtroom chaos. I climbed back into my tractor, engine roaring to life. The crowd erupted into chants again. "Crush it! Crush it!" This time, no one stopped me. The bucket lowered, steel crushing luxury, glass shattering, metal folding like cardboard. The Bentley collapsed into scrap, smoke rising from its mangled body. Karen's son filmed every second, grinning. "Rip Mom's car." Cliffhanger. The sheriff raised her hand to quiet the crowd. "This isn't just about revenge," she said. "This is about justice. And justice isn't done yet. The HOA board was arrested on charges of fraud, sabotage, and racketeering. Karen, already jailed, faced years behind bars. The subdivision was dissolved, its homeowners freed from corrupt control. As for me, I stood before the crowd. My barn door finally unblocked, my land restored. "I didn't fight for revenge," I said. "I fought for respect, for my family, for this land." The cameras caught the moment as I raised the old land deed high above my head, the sun breaking through clouds behind me. The crowd erupted in cheers. Karen's screams faded into history. The HOA empire was ashes, and as the wind rolled across my fields, carrying the scent of freedom, I climbed back into my tractor. Not for battle this time, but for work, because justice had been served. And life finally could go on.